Good morning and welcome. You're still watching Plus TV Africa Breakfast News, and this time around we are right here live in our Lagos studio as we bring you Off the Press, where we discuss newspaper headlines. And we're starting with the Punch newspaper, and the biggest headline: the 9th National Assembly. APC reacts as Saraki says senators should decide their leaders. What is important is for the members of the Senate to decide who is best to lead so they can have stability. And that's according to the Senate President Bukola Saraki. And members of the minority party should mind their own business. They should find a way of occupying the positions that belong to them, and the APC sent that as a response. We have details of that in page 2 of the Punch newspaper. And we also have a pictorial here: 2019 Batch A core members during skill acquisition training at the NYSC temporary orientation camp in Akko local government area of Gombe State. And that was yesterday by the News Agency of Nigeria. And regulatory bottlenecks slow down drone revolution in agric sector. We have details of that in page 34 and 35. Mom sent new month message to slain football fan on Monday. And the brother, we have that in page 4 of Punch newspaper. 5 Nigerians arrested in the United Arab Emirates for 2.3 million dirham robbery. Page 4 has details of that. Now, Obasanjo to Southwest PDP leaders purge the party of bad eggs. And moving on, APC will face bottlenecks in 2023 if Oshiomhole is not tamed, and that's according to Rochas Okorocha. And APC has also queried Akeredolu for anti-party activities. A spokesman said that we may start selling petrol above 145 naira, and that's according to IPMAN, the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria. And looking at the detailed reports from page 42, Onogan's driver testifies as defense witness. CCB official appears on Wednesday. And in page 42 as well, we also have this report: Nigeria's debt profile among lowest in the world, and that's according to Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. And taking a flip to the back page of the Punch newspaper, most miserable country, why are we so blessed? And that's a column, an article written by Azuka Onwuka, and it's saying that, well, the news that Nigeria was rated as the 6th most miserable country has been on the lips of many Nigerians since the weekend. And as usual, politics was brought into it as everybody complains about the unflattering economic situation in Nigeria and is tagged an enemy of the administration of the President Muhammadu Buhari and his party, the All Progressives Congress. The report was written by Steve Hanke, who's an economist at the Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. We now cross over now to the Nation newspaper, where we are looking at the headlines here. One of the biggest as well, we have the Christian Association of Nigeria's post-election visit to Buhari sparks quarrel, and war of words over association's visit to presidential villa. And the row broke out yesterday over the Christian Association of Nigeria, the leaders' visit to President Muhammadu Buhari. Can President Samson Oloyede led the visit, which the National Assembly Christian Leaders Forum described as shocking. And moving on, Osinbajo, government to partner investors on IPP airports concessioning. The Vice President Yemi Osinbajo yesterday spoke of plans of the federal government of Nigeria to encourage private firms to supply power to end users, and this was during the 50th convocation lecture of the University of Lagos titled Nigeria Rising: The Path to Prosperity at the JF Ade Ajayi Auditorium. And OPEC output hits 4-year low on Saudi Arabia cuts, Venezuela crisis. Oil supply by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries sank to a 4-year low last month, and that's according to a Reuters survey. Top exporter Saudi Arabia over-delivered on the group's supply cut impact, and besides, Venezuelan output also fell due to sanctions and power outages. We have details of that in page 6 of the Nation newspaper. And Obas accuse Olubadan of denigrating stool. Ambode, Tinubu, others bid Fashinro farewell, and we had reports of his death yesterday, and Governor Ambode, Tinubu as well, are all bidding him farewell and acknowledging his contribution to Lagos State. And Wando's profit after tax hits 28.8 billion naira. Obasanjo to PDP dump bad eggs. We have details of that in page 41. 21 robbery suspect held in Ibadan. Messi is not God, says Pope Francis, and that's in page 47. And looking at the back here as well, under the comment and debate by Louise Odion, the bottom line, we're looking at the shame of Zamfara zigzag. And we also have here as well, open forum by Teva Akase, Sam Omaseye, pain in the heart of a hate preacher. We have details of this and more in the Nation newspaper, and it's time to now bring you other reports as well from This Day newspaper. This time around, the biggest headline on the This Day newspaper: independence of legislature not negotiable. That's according to the president of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, and we have multiple writers here. Argues National Assembly leadership must be decided by legislators elect. Lawan reaches out to opposition senators elect. Now, the Senate president yesterday faulted the All Progressives Congress intervention in the selection of the 9th National Assembly's leadership, saying it is capable of undermining the independence of the legislature, which he argued is not negotiable in a democratic society. And Onogen's witness tenders 2010 asset declaration receipts. Now, we know that the CJN, Justice Walter Onogen, yesterday called his first witness, that's Lawal Busari, who tendered receipt of his 2010 asset declaration form at his ongoing trial at the Code of Conduct Tribunal. And Onogen is standing trial on an alleged 6-count charge of failure to disclose his assets as required by law for public office holders. The charge is preferred against him by the federal government following a petition earlier in January. It's already a 2-month-old trial, and we're still waiting for much more updates, and you have details of that as you continue on page 6 of This Day newspaper. And the pictorial here, we have the 9th National Assembly beckons. From the left to the right, we have the clerk of the National Assembly, followed by the Senate President, Bukola Saraki, and the Permanent Secretary, Inter-Parliamentary Relations in the National Assembly, Dr. Rabi Audu, during an orientation program for members-elect of the National Assembly in Abuja, the nation's capital, which was held yesterday. And talking business now, Wando's profits rises by 46% to 29 billion naira in 2018. Details of that in page 8. As also in page 8 as well, we have crude oil price climbs to $68. Supplies tighten, and Fidelity Bank posts impressive FY 2018 results for the fiscal year 2018 and caps 3 years of sustained performance. Fidelity Bank has sustained quite an impressive performance trajectory with the strong full year 2018 results it released recently to the Nigerian Stock Exchange and the financial markets. This is somewhat of a clear demonstration of its resilience and stability. Now, taking a flip now to the back of the newspaper, a piece written by Ruben Abati, Nigeria and the Misery Index, not a miserable country. And you could always read details of that as well from the Steve Hanke report as well, where it says that Nigeria ranks 6th as the most miserable country. Whether or not that is true, you find out there. And coming up next, we are looking at the Vanguard newspaper. So many big headlines, and their focus is on politics, politics, politics. Many PDP leaders are after their interest, and that's according to Obasanjo. And the pictorial we are having here, unveiling new Access Bank logo. We know that yesterday Access Bank unveiled the logos across 400 new branches since the merger of Diamond and Access Bank. And we can see over here in the pictorial from left to the right, we have Mr. Roosevelt Ogbonna, the Group Managing Director of Access Bank PLC, Pascal Dozier, the pioneer founder of Diamond Bank PLC, Herbert Wigwe, the Group Managing Director of Access Bank, and His Royal Highness Alhaji Mohammed Sanusi II, the Emir of Kano there. And we also see President of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, over there, and as well as is Ibrahim Dankwambo of Gombe State as well. But moving on, we see here now Rwanda increases PAT by 46% to 20.8 billion naira. And we've increased power generation to 8,100 megawatts. That's according to Vice President Yemi Oshibaja. Said last year Nigeria was raging at about 7,000 megawatts, and they say, well, now we have 8,100 megawatts. How true that is, you read the details on page 10 of the Vanguard newspaper. And on the Naira watch, Naira appreciates to 360 Naira 60 kobo to the dollar, and that's on the importer and exporter window. We have that detailed on page 40 as well. Olubadan in council, crisis worsens, page 11. And magistrates take turns to share courtrooms, and that's according to the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria. Senate uncovers illegal company floated by Trade and Investment Ministry. And page 2 has details there. 3 police officers arrested over Lagos viewing center shooting. And it was quite a sight over there in Lagos when the police officers shot dead a man, Lekon, who was, Johnson, yes, who was shot yesterday over trying to interfere within the situation, the breakout there where they were trying to make an arrest. And so many have come out hard on SARS for their manner and approach towards their operations. Hopefully, we have justice been served. And Oshomole will turn APC to minority party. That's according to Okorocha. And rep speakership are planned for the 9th Assembly. Aspirants, why we need a patriotic speaker. And that's according to Adeyemi. Military uncovers arms factory in Benue State. Details of that in page 9. And CCT trial. I drove on again to CCB to submit asset declaration forms. And that's according to a witness. Still talking business now. Again, Nigeria spent 10 trillion naira on petroleum subsidy in 12 years. Taking a flip to the back page of the newspaper, Vanguard Sports. Messi is not God, Pope Francis tells Barca fans. And Chelsea reject €5 million offer for Moses. Man United demand Kroos and ballot for Pogba, and Ronaldo's return for Ajax clash will be difficult. Allegri says that, and referee dies during fitness test. Interesting. Work permit kills Awoniyi's Liverpool dream. And we also have Zidane yet to give Hazard move the green light. NFF Congresses ratifies postponement of state FA elections. And we are looking at the AITEO and the NFF award winners. We have the goal of the season going to Ahmed Musa. We have the Young Player of the Year award as well for the female category going to Anna Mimo. And we have Young Player of the Year male category going to Samuel Chikweze. And Best Coach of the Year female category goes to Thomas Danabe. And Male Coach of the Year goes to Benga Ongubote. And today's matches, we're looking at Watford versus Fulham, that's at 7:45 p.m. and Wolves versus Man United at 7:45 p.m. as well. That's under the EPL. And looking at Serie A, we have Milan and Udinese 6 p.m. as well. La Liga, Atletico versus Girona 6:30 p.m. Espanyol versus Getafe, we have 7:30 p.m. and French Cup as well. We look at Lyon versus Reims holding at 10 p.m. And those are the details. You definitely have those details and much more when you read all of your newspapers and visit the newspaper stands. Quite an interesting stock we have here this morning. But please do ensure that you visit your newspaper stand and also watch us live on Plus TV Africa across our social media platforms for details of all of this and much more as the Feel Like Conversation for today. It's now time to bring you sports news with our correspondent. You're still watching Off the Press live from our Lagos studio as we bring you newspaper headlines. And before the break, we were just talking about sports from Vanguard newspaper with the Vanguard Sports. And now we are taking a look at Complete Sports as well. But before we go into details of that, we have our sports correspondent with us, Samson, in the studio. Good morning, Samson.
Good morning, David.
Now, it was a big win yesterday when we were looking at the NFF Awards 2018. But before we talk about that, let's just look at the headlines from here. Now, from Complete Sports newspaper, we have the biggest headline here. Musa is Nigeria's player of the year, and we have multiple riders there. Al Nasser of Saudi Arabia player also wins goal of the year. Ebi crowned best female player, and Ogumbote is the best coach. Samuel Chukwueze voted 2018 young player of the year. And Chelsea rejects £5 million bid for Moses. Uzoho gets first career red card, sent off in the win versus Oro Clinics. And we look at success, 6 first EPL goal in 23 games, and all the winners. We look at those there for yesterday's award ceremony. We have the player of the year, female player of the year, going to Onome Ebi. We have the young player of the year for the female category going to Anam. We have young player of the year, the male category, going to Samuel, and a whole lot more there. And per Francis as well, Messi is not God. Benzema beats Messi, Ronaldo to La Liga record. And Arsenal leapfrog Spurs Man United. Looking at the back page as well, we have Barca ready to reignite Griezmann interest. And United rule out Pogba exit. And Marcelo wants to stay at Madrid. Buffon close to new PSG deal, to close a new PSG deal, and then Zidane yet to give Hazard a move for the green light, and Herrera signs pre-contract with PSG. Real Madrid linked to Sengi's under, and Barca pull clear in the light race, and we're looking at much more. But Samson, quickly, weighing on this, yesterday's big winners, we look at Ahmed Musa, who had the player of the year. We look at Onome as well, doing quite well. Samuel, and other interesting categories.
Well, I think it was deserved, for Ahmed Musa, especially considering the year in focus. You know, the 2018 World Cup
was a good year for him.
It was a good year for him. He was our standout player at the World Cup. We crashed out at the group stages. It was disappointing, but in terms of performance, Musa stepped up, on the global scene. So it's well deserved for Ebi Onome as well. She was instrumental to the Super Falcons retaining, the African Cup of Nations title. And you look at it really, at that point, we're expecting Asisa Oshoala to, have a good run at a tournament, but she was average based on her standards. Onome was the one who stepped up to the plate.
Ogumbote as well as the best coach?
Yeah, well deserved, well deserved. I think there will be no grievances with those who won. Samuel Chukwueze, who won the young player of the year, has been very good playing for Villarreal. This season has been consistent in terms of performance, in terms of delivering in goals and, assists as well. These players are well deserved. Maybe for the young player, you could have factored in Victor Osimhen as well, who has had a decent 2018, but you really can't fault the winners.
And hopefully they continue on their winning streak and don't just relent on their efforts.
Hopefully, especially for the women, they won the team of the year, that's the Super Falcons, and the coach, Thomas Denabre, also carted home the Coach of the Year award. So we expect more from them, especially with the Women's World Cup, just around the corner. Yeah,
and then we're also looking at Pope Francis. It's quite an interesting inclusion. When I first saw it, I was like, what does the Pope have to say about football? He says Messi is not God.
Most times when footballers attain certain standards, they get several adjectives to qualify them. You've also had Maradona being termed as God, Pele, the god of football, the god of this and all. And some fans go ahead, to worship them in quote. But Pope Francis is just saying that Messi is not God. He's also human like us.
It's just a tease. Okay, now Benzema also beats Messi, Ronaldo to La Liga record.
Yeah, great for Benzema. He had a lovely strike, in Real Madrid's 3-2 win over Oscar during the weekend as well. So I think he needs to get back into his rhythm, and that's what Zinedine Zidane will be hoping for. Arsenal leapfrogging Spurs and Manchester United during the title yesterday with a win over Newcastle. It's the push for top four. It's going to go down the wire because there are 4 teams there jostling for 2 spots, and the difference between the 4 teams is just a point 2 in there from the 3rd team to the 5th, 6th place team.
Okay, as we're rounding up conversations now, we are looking at tonight's fixtures as well. We are looking at under the England Premier League, we have Watford versus Fulham, and then Wolves versus Man United holding tonight. And when we're also looking at other games in the England Championship, Swansea versus Brentford, and Serie A, we're looking at Milan versus Udinese and Atletico versus Girona in Spanish La Liga, and Germany as well. We are having some games going on, and then Netherlands versus. It's just a long, winding, interesting games.
Interesting games ahead. United against Wolverhampton Wanderers is a big one that one has to keep tabs on. The last time they played, Wolves knocked out United from the FA Cup 2-1, and this was a flat performance, from United. They need to put up a statement. Last weekend, they were not so impressive, though they won against Watford. So this time around, they really need to get it going. And Wolverhampton Wanderers seem like a team that is pushing for probably the top 6, a Europa League football spot. So it's going to be dicey for United.
Most definitely dicey, and we'll have our fingers crossed. PlusTVAfrica will be watching closely to see all of the goals and the misses. Thank you very much for your time, Samson. It's a pleasure speaking with you. And this is where the curtain draws on today's edition of Off the Press. Remember that you have to keep abreast with all of the news making the headlines, and you can do that right here at PlusTVAfrica. Also visit your newspaper headlines. Stay tuned for the rest of our programming. I'm David Alabi.